Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. It's Marie with Swipe in the City.
You've got Michelle in the studio today as well. I think it's been a minute since just the two of us have recorded.
I think it has actually, because last time we were with Paul.
Yeah.
PM Jams. Shouts out.
Shouts out, Paul. I need to message him back. I've ignored the last 14 memes he's sent me. We're probably in a fight.
I think he does because so for those of y'all who don't know, Michelle's birthday is coming up.
Woot woot. Dirty 30, baby. My life is gonna change.
And I might have accidentally mentioned the group chat that you made about your Smash Room, and he's now offended that he's not in it.
Oh, he's obviously gonna be invited.
I told him that. I was like,
I just haven't confirmed the time. Well, I will message him after this.
Yeah, you're gonna need to make up with him.
That's
I
fine.
think he's really sad.
I feel really bad. He thinks he's not invited. I just haven't made the plans.
I know. I'm like, Paul, what plans?
Poor Paul. Poor Paul.
Oh.
I just assume, yeah, it's okay. We'll figure it out. So, you just got back from New York.
I did.
How was it?
I am in love again.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
I love that for you.
Yeah, I don't think I think we've grazed over it on the show, but I will be moving to New York in a few short months. So I went out there and was just kind of scoping out neighborhoods. People keep asking me if I found an apartment yet. I'm like, you can't find an apartment in New York until a week or two before you're actually going to move in.
Oh, yeah, really?
The market moves really quick still, even though it's easier, if that makes sense.
That's really interesting. I didn't realize that.
Well, there's a lot more
short-term leases,
privately owned. So it's if you think about it here, you can come tour former Lennox,
Bell Lakeshore,
R.I.P. You can tour a big apartment complex like this and look at a unit that may be similar to where you're gonna live. And then they'll be like, okay, yeah, we're gonna have a vacancy in X number of months, and that's fine. But here, it's you kind of have to watch these listings, and there's a lot of smaller buildings with 6 units, and so it's different.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and so since I'm not moving until after the holidays, I really I wanted to figure out where, because if you were talking to me a week and a half ago, I had a list of 12 neighborhoods that I was thinking about, that I'd done research on, that I was thinking that I would want to move to. And we are now down to just Brooklyn. So.
Okay, that's progress, girl. That's progress.
For anybody wondering, the Lower East Side is the equivalent of rainy, and I will not be living there.
Even I couldn't live in that kind of neighborhood, partially because I would just go broke trying to make friends and hang out every night.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a lot of fun. I'll definitely go out there, but yeah, it's way too loud. And then the Upper East Side is the polar opposite, which is where my Airbnb was. So I guess I'm not gonna fulfill my Blair Waldorf dreams. Even though I am wearing my All About That Bass Chuck Bass t-shirt today.
Am I supposed to know what that means?
No, but anybody who watches Gossip Girl and listening will. So
okay, perfect. Oh my god, we need to share the that Taylor Swift that video I sent you today from the swipe page, because it's us.
I already saved it.
But yeah, my voice is clearly gone. I've been on a lot of calls this week for work, but and to several happy hours this week as well. But our episode today is going to be about breaking up and what you do after. And I would like to share with y'all that I finally broke up with Android, and I am now a blue texter.
I'm so excited for you, and I'm just so happy that you're out of that toxic relationship.
Right.
It was getting so bad. I felt like I just couldn't be supportive as a friend.
Yeah, I do feel that. And I did feel you kind of pulling away from me. I wasn't included in as many group texts. I didn't receive as many messages, as many videos.
I couldn't even send you a picture without it getting distorted or just not even sent.
That is true. Yeah, that is true. It's never good when you have to say, can you send this to me through Instagram because I can't see it. So yeah, I'm part of the Apple fam. I'm learning how to use it the way, you probably taught your grandma how to use her first smartphone. So it's pretty funny. I'm like, how do I make the notifications not make sounds? And then I kind of like dig around. Well, and I also, I have one complaint. I don't understand why you have to download each Google app separately on an iPhone.
Because they're different apps. I remember having to do that when I had an Android back in the day.
They just all lived on my Android. I don't know. But
because they were like
it's the main yeah.
Right. The same way like your iPhone comes with Apple Maps.
Right. So I now have Google Search again and Google Maps and my Gmail set up. So I think we're getting closer.
As long as you have Google Chrome, like I don't use most of the Google apps, just Chrome.
I think I have Chrome. We'll figure it out today.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say with iPhones, if any of y'all have seen that video where it's like the difference between an Android alarm and an iPhone alarm, that is 1,000% true. That being said, I've made it into the office 3 days this week because my alarm wakes me up like a hurricane warning on Maui.
I'm so proud of you. Also, you can change the alarm.
But it's working.
I'm not going to suggest that for you because it sounds like this is actually a very positive change.
It's working, yeah.
But after all the fire alarms during our lovely winter storm last year, I was too triggered. I literally had to change all my alarms because I would wake up in a panic attack.
Yeah.
Which isn't lovely.
No, that's not the best way to start your day.
Really not. So, here we are.
Cool. You want to jump into it?
Yeah. For starters, Taylor Swift, Red. Taylor's version is out.
Woo!
So obviously that's why we have to talk about breakups because there is nothing like Taylor Swift to help you get over a breakup. And I'm actually drinking her Starbucks drink, Taylor's latte, right now. It's delightful.
Is it branded like through Starbucks or? Oh, wow. That's big.
It's kind of like secret menu. So I don't think, like I tried to order on the app on my way there and it's not there or it's just delayed because it just came out yesterday. But no, it's like a literal drink. But frankly, it's not super extra. Like the caramel brulee latte is more extra than this is. And that's why I love it. Like I'm so happy that she has good taste in coffee.
It's literally just a vanilla latte. No.
It's a caramel latte. It's literally just a non-fat caramel latte.
That's amazing. I actually really love that. I love that.
It's delightful.
And I'm drinking a canned Starbucks double shot energy drink. Woot woot. What is this? What are these weird woots I'm doing today?
I don't know. This is going to be an interesting day. We're going to Worst Fest later, and this should be interesting, Michelle.
I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a great day.
Excited. It's a beautiful day. So
it is. Maybe we'll find some mans there.
Yeah, so that they can break our hearts.
So that they can give us false hope and then ghost us.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So speaking of breakups, we've done a couple of episodes around this, but this one we wanted to be a little more constructive. So best practices of going through a breakup and really just making sure that y'all don't get back with your exes. Mm-hmm. As they say, an ex is an ex for a reason.
Who says that?
It's a saying.
Oh, I've never heard it.
Anonymous. Michael Scott. Michael Scott says that. Perfect. So I think, first place to start, maybe just thinking, so you go through the breakup, whether you initiate or they initiate. I feel like the first couple of days are either, extremely hard, or if you're kind of trying to block it out, or you're free. I guess there's a couple, or if you're not fully letting it sink in, then maybe you're kind of riding that out.
Been there.
And I think the biggest thing during that initial period is allowing yourself to feel your feelings, whether they are joy or sadness or anger or confusion. Like, I think when people try to, you know, not actually feel those things when they happen, it just delays it and intensifies it.
I am the queen of not wanting to feel those feelings and like going in denial about it. Like I literally have a shirt that says I feel nothing.
Which we all know is not true.
It is not true at all. But I mean, at the same time, like those breakups that I've had where like I'm angry, I would say that's my favorite emotion to allow myself to feel after a breakup.
Yeah, that can be a good one. I mean, let's put a little disclaimer out there. Let's not go breaking any windows or slashing tires.
Very Carrie Underwood.
Unless they really deserve it.
They probably do.
Sometimes.
I mean, so the reason I say that is like I'm thinking in the back of my head like the stages of grief.
Mm-hmm.
Denial, anger, etc. before you finally get there. And what I've learned in therapy is like you can kind of go through those in any order.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. And it varies. So it's not like you, Michelle, will always go through them in this order. But like based on the situation, like for example, when Taylor Swift guy and I broke up, I went straight into just like depressed for a very long time, as you know. Mm-hmm. So like, and that was different. And then I was like kind of pissed off because I couldn't be angry at him.
Yeah.
So it was this weird, like very emotional thing. But usually I'm in some sort of breakup where the guy is being a dick. So I go straight into anger. So it's just it was an adjustment for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is tough. And I think too, like when you do break some of those cycles of the type of people that you're dating and the situations are different, then like it changes it. But yeah, that's like, I mean, when I went through my like real serious breakup, it was mostly like mutual. And so there wasn't like an anger component, or you couldn't. I think as humans we like to have, or at least myself, like I like to have a reason for something. Yeah. And sometimes there isn't just like a reason you can tack onto it, and then you get mad because you're like, I want to focus on this one thing and have it be tied to this one thing. But I think working through all of that is really important. And like we both are actively in therapy. I wouldn't say regret, but I wish I would have started therapy right as I was going through that breakup, because I think that just would have maybe helped me develop some better habits, as well as just helped me like process it in a shorter time frame rather than being like a longer kind of thing, because I was basically just distracting myself and because I wasn't ready to just like feel those feelings.
Yeah, and I mean I feel like there's kind of a time and place for everything too. And I mean, we're talking like this was several years ago too. Like I feel like you were probably a different person then too, versus, you know, like growing up and having a different outlook a few years later, going back, and if you were to be in a relationship and then a breakup right now. Oh,
for sure. I mean, I wasn't even a dating expert back then with a podcast.
I don't think we're dating experts now either.
Some would say. Oh, that reminds me. Big ol' shout out. We haven't talked about him in a while, but I ran into T-Mac last night at the event.
Oh, how is he doing?
I think he's doing good. Yeah, he's doing good. I think he has maybe had a girlfriend for a while there. So after listening to this show and taking our advice,
that's exactly what it was.
Landed himself in a relationship. But
well, T-Mac, hey.
T-Mac. But yeah, so we talked about, you know, therapy definitely, or, you know, the other thing too is leaning on your friends, reaching out to your friends and just letting them know. Like for me, it's really hard for me to ask for things or admit that like I need someone to just hang out with me, you know, or whatever the case may be. It's hard for me to do that. And so I encourage people to try, because it is important. Your friends love you and they're there for you, and your family hopefully loves you and is there for you.
Well, and like everybody is going to grieve in a different way. Like, you know, you being the more extreme extrovert of the two of us, like it seems like you would probably benefit more from like just being with people. Yeah. Versus like I went completely into like a cave. Yeah. And that was what I needed.
Yeah.
Like, I can't get my head around being with people when I'm like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think, and also just kind of owning whatever that is that you need at whatever given time that is. Like, you have to be really good to yourself and, like, forgiving to yourself.
Yeah, and I think that self-awareness is key as well, because like if you you're at a point now where you know that what you need is that alone time, and if you were to try to just throw yourself into a bunch of social situations, like that's gonna just again like
done it
make things worse.
You live and you learn.
But yeah, I think another thing is just like I mentioned not distracting yourself, and I meant in like a negative way, but I think staying busy, whether that's like with a hobby or podcast.
Literally, the podcast got me through the breakup. Just kidding, it was Larry, my therapist.
Shouts out to Larry and Gary, our therapists, who hopefully don't listen to this. But yeah, like I feel like you, especially again, like you said, being more of like I think you're an outgoing introvert.
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm one of our friends posted something on Instagram a couple weeks ago that was like, you're an extroverted introvert if, and it was like one of those slidey things on Instagram. I read the whole thing and I definitely probably identified it with every single one, but I couldn't get past the fact that extrovert was spelled wrong. And so me being the asshole that I am had to comment asterisk and extrovert spelled right.
Naturally, yeah. Did you feel good about that though? Did that make you feel better?
Nobody responded to me.
Okay.
I was really hoping that somebody would like understand, but apparently not.
Just you and your lonely comment on that post. It's because it's a bunch of introverts reading it and they don't want to start anything.
Probably, honestly.
But yeah, I think like for me, I was pretty active at the time, so I started like working out a lot more consistently.
A lot of people do that too.
I think that's a big one. But if you're not like a gym person, you can find a kickball league or volleyball, or do something that's like you don't have to go start becoming a runner or something if you're not.
Well, those endorphins are no joke. Like there's truly something to be said for that. And even if it's literally just like taking a daily walk, like when I started working that, and this was back before Luke and I broke up, but when I started working that into my daily routine, it totally changed. Like morning walk totally changed how I start my day and where my mind is. So like even it's easy to walk unless you like can't walk literally, but so basically you just have to get the hell out of your house.
Yeah. Well, and there's there's all sorts of other activities too, especially so one of the things that can happen if you're in like a long-term relationship is you start to have the same like hangout spots and friend groups and that kind of stuff, and that can honestly be really, really tough. Like I had to pull away from some of the people that were my closest friends that I hung out with every weekend because I just couldn't do it. And so, and it was nothing against those people, and, we're still connected, but like, I just needed to kind of get that space from that whole situation. And, but it's hard to make friends as an adult. Well,
it is. Well, not for you, but
for most people.
For most of us.
For most people. And so that's where I think, finding, even if it's like some random thing, there's like pool leagues, or you can go play pool. I don't know. I just feel like people
Bowling.
Don't realize there's like an activity and group and club out there for anyone.
That's honestly, like, that's totally true. And I think there's, I don't know, like, is there an adult stigma about joining some of these things?
Maybe.
I kind of feel like there might be, unless you're joining with a big group. Like, because I knew a bunch of people back in the GoDaddy days who started like a kickball league, or not, they didn't start it, but they joined one of the like Austin, whatever the hell it's called, leagues. But it was like they already went in there with their full team. It wasn't like they were an individual joining a team, which honestly to me would be super intimidating.
I think with sports it's a little bit different, but I think for some of the other,
take a class.
Yeah. take a class, do
class.
stand up, do improv, get it all out there. Also, I don't know if we talked about this. I went on a date a few months ago, and basically it was a training session on anime. So I now know a lot about anime, but there are anime meetups. Like,
of course there are.
There are groups for everybody. Get on meetup.com, find a local meetup, get on Eventbrite.
Yep.
Come to Paul Puts On music and comedy shows.
At PM Jams.
At PM Jams. I'm at probably every one of those if I'm in town. So come there. I'll make friends for you. Like, we got you. Just let us know.
Honestly, yeah. If you've got a friend like Michelle, like, just kind of glue to them like I do. And then you'll know everybody.
Yeah, you'll be trying to hide in the grocery store, and unfortunately you'll be saying that people that you met, and you're like, shit.
Especially when you all live in the same apartment complex.
Yeah, that is true.
There was something else. Never mind. Go on.
No, I think just getting out there, reaching out, and then I think this next one is a big
Oh no, I was gonna say, because I was thinking about, when you were bringing that up, I was thinking about kind of untying myself from everything when I was in a longer term relationship. And it wasn't just friends in that case too, it was hobbies, because I think a lot of times, especially when you're younger, you really mold, not your personality, but you mold a lot of your interests together
100%.
with the person that you're with. And it was like, I wasn't a runner, I joined track. Like, I was a dancer, but am a dancer. But so it was like really having to untie myself from those activities and learn how, like, okay, well, like, relearn what it is I want to do as an individual. And that's a lot easier said than done. Like, that's something that you probably might need to work out with a therapist, depending on, like, your level of, you know, how long you were in that.
Yeah, I mean, I had to take a break from CrossFit, the CrossFit gym environment, because my ex and I had been running a gym for years. I was coaching there. So I had to kind of like distance myself from that, like, kind of cultured aspect of it too, which is interesting. And like you said, you pick up new hobbies and things. That's something that, like, I had no idea about and then got super into. So I think the other thing too is, like, it's okay to keep those things as well, right? Like, so I was never I was never a beer drinker or craft beer drinker, but I was like, no, this is something that I'm actually very into. I like this. I like the culture around it, So I think you don't have to feel like it's extreme and you have to, like, cut out anything that's related to that person. It's finding the balance, and then, like you said, just, like, relearning, like, do I actually enjoy this, or was I just doing this to be supportive?
Yeah, it was like I kept running for a while after we broke up, because honestly, I was in incredible shape. What the hell happened? I quit running. That's what happened. But I mean, and it wasn't that I necessarily quit, and I don't not enjoy running, but it's like I realized that running wasn't something that, like, got me excited about working out. Like, it was almost like a reactive thing. Like, I'd have a shitty day at work and I'd go for, like, a 6-mile run for the first time in, like, 6 months. Then I'd be sore for the next week. And now, like, even after the breakup, even though I'd kind of already started dancing at that point, like, being back in my dance world, I'm like, that is me. That's where it is. And it kind of makes sense to me now why I stopped working out for so long.
It does. Long story short. Speaking of, I was like, I should go for a run. I'm like, maybe tomorrow.
You don't have time.
I'm aware. Yeah, I'm aware. Talking about kind of like disconnecting, unlinking, I think social media. Social media is a big one. 10, 15, 20, I don't know how long people have actually been on social media, but prior to, you didn't have to see everything that your ex was doing on social. And I think a lot of people, like, because you want to stay connected maybe, right? So they don't block or they don't unfollow, and they're still following their ex on Instagram. And then it's like, you are just breaking your own heart doing that, in my opinion.
What do you think, though? Because, okay, so there's unfollowing, there's muting, and then there's blocking, kind of on these like different tiers of, in my opinion, aggression. How do you feel about blocking? Because I've had so many conversations of like, no, block him, block your ex, versus just muting them or unfollowing.
So personally, like for me to block like a number or someone on social or anything like that like that feels like extreme to me. And so for me, I just unfollowed. But I will admit, when you just unfollow, you can still go like creep on their profile, and definitely have done that. So there's like, I don't know if it would have been better to just block, but I also like, I was super close to his family, so I still see things through his family anyways. And for some people, maybe like they have to block anyone that's like tied to the person for their own thing. But I think it's just like knowing how it's going to impact you. If you're someone that if you see what they're doing, you're going to constantly be like triggered or want to message them or like feel compelled to like interact with them, then I would say blocking is the better route to go. Even if it is extreme, you have to like guard your emotions and be aware of like what your reactions are going to be.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I've definitely had people where like I have had to block them for a certain amount of time. I've unfollowed before. I try to just mute, because like if it's amicable enough,
right,
I feel like muting is fine. But to your point about like being able to still creep if they're not blocked, I will say as somebody with multiple Instagram accounts, I either have to block them from every single account, or I will go onto my dog's account and creep on their page.
So it's really funny you say that, because when we split up, my ex unfollowed me from his Instagram, but not the gym page. So the gym page would like see my stories
and like it.
No, he wouldn't interact with it, but it was just kind of funny from that standpoint. But
sorry, go finish.
No, and I mean, like, I'm assuming I was the one running it before, so I'm assuming no one else. Like, I'm assuming it was just him. But it was just really funny. It'd be like, XX CrossFit like viewed your story, and I'm just like, all right, well.
Try to be a little more discreet, honey. Like,
yeah.
Well, and on that same note, I don't know if I've talked about the ex from college that I dated for a while, 4 years, who was still watching every single Instagram story I posted. And we're talking like this is still happening. He wasn't following me. He had a private profile, so I couldn't really like creep on him, or has. And yeah, he would literally, I don't know if he was getting notifications, like you can turn that on people's profile, or if he just habitually went to my page on a regular basis. Both are very creepy.
It's weird that he wasn't following you.
It's weird that he wasn't following me and like actively seeking it out. And it's even weirder that like, okay, we broke up in like 2013.
How many presidents have we had since then? I think 3. What is that? It's over 8 years, right?
Yeah.
It's 8 years. Yeah, so we've gone through probably, we're on our 3rd president. Yeah. Man, come on, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Just let her go.
I don't know, maybe he listens. Maybe he listens and he'll give me an answer now. But because I don't want to slide in. So back in August, when I was at home in Chicago, which is where he still lives, I was like shooting the shit with my brother one night, and I was like, you know what? Like we were kind of talking about it. I'm like, let me just follow him. Let me see what happens. And it took him like 2 days to accept my follow request because private profile. And then he followed me back and still continues. Now I feel like he has an excuse to watch my stories. So like I kind of feel a little bit better about it.
Is he reacting to any of them?
He never reacts. He's just lurking, which honestly feels very, very on brand for him. But I found, so I didn't know this obviously because we're not connected on Facebook either, and I don't really know any of his friends. He's married now. He got married in January.
Okay, all right.
And still actively was going to my page to watch my story.
I mean, you live a very exciting life.
I do, but you've got a girl, honey. Like you've got her, and they have a dog together.
Oh well, that's cute. Serious. That's serious. Yeah, then
that's what I'm saying. They just bought a house. Like what are you doing?
I do like. I don't know. I can't imagine myself doing that, and so I just wonder the logic behind it.
The same, and like I can see every once in a while, kind of poking in here and there, like, oh, what's so up to?
Sure.
But every single day just feels like a lot. It feels very invested.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's a little. Don't do that.
Yeah, and if you're listening, you have permission to slide in and let me know what the hell's going on in your brain, because I'm fascinated and curious.
The people need answers.
We need answers,
and we are the people.
Yes,
the people that need answers.
So social media.
Social media. I think that kind of ties into the next one, which is like being friends with an ex, and we've done a whole episode on this before. But it depends. Like, I think it depends. Again, we've talked, like, if you didn't listen to that episode, it's a really good one. Go listen.
If we do say so ourselves.
It's like 6 months ago or 9 months ago or something crazy. But I think if you had a serious relationship, and let's say, this is assuming you don't have shared assets and kids or dogs that you're, like, sharing after the breakup, and have to stay connected for that reason. I think if you had a serious relationship, if you were in love or lived together or whatever the case may be, again, there are exceptions, but I really don't think you can have a true platonic friendship with that person when you've had those like deep emotions at some point. Again, there are probably exceptions, but typically what happens, especially if you try to be friends after the breakup, is you hang out, you're like, we'll just, we're grabbing a beer, and then one thing leads to another, and then you just break your own fucking heart again, and, I think that cycle can continue. So I think if you had a serious relationship or really strong feelings, I don't think you can be friends with an ex in that situation.
Yeah, I feel like my opinion on that is kind of molded a little bit. I feel like it's more of like, how do you define friends?
Okay.
Because you can be like cool with a person, like see them out or whatever, and
sure,
like, down to chill. But like friends, to me, like defining a friend really comes down to like prioritizing their time.
Okay.
Or prioritizing time with them, rather. And like actually still having like a meaningful connection in some way, versus like, I would say some of the exes that I'm thinking about Jesus Christ, that I was talking about in that episode, with that definition of friends in mind, like, I don't know that we're really friends. I think we're just cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a word for it. That's what it's not, platonic's not the word I'm thinking of. But yeah, basically like being like cordial, being like, of course. But like, yeah, if you run into them, sure, but I'm referring to the latter, right? Like that's right. Trying to still maintain a meaningful connection. But yeah, of course, like I think being chill with them, or like, yeah, or if you do all hang out in a group, right? But I think it's like still chatting, still texting, still hanging out one-on-one.
Every day.
Yeah.
Versus like sending the occasional meme, which is like, honestly, like I feel like that's the best way to go about an ex with a breakup. Just the occasional meme.
Just the occasional meme. If you haven't blocked them on social.
Yes, exactly. No, I was actually talking to my therapist about this yesterday too. Like between that and he was kind of going into just social media too, and how it relates to the way that people can still be like quote unquote friends with their exes. And basically like what he was saying is just like it really does foster like some sort of continuing relationship, whatever that relationship might be, in some cases that can, you know, make it more difficult to get over the person. But he's like, if you, you know, like if you take the time and you do feel like you're over it to where you can have at least, you know, a casual meme, then like it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that comes with like situational and truly being over it, and not just being like, I'm fine, this is great, I'm, you know, like even lying to yourself, right? Because I think going through breakups is a time where we, like, a lot of people will either just like subconsciously or whatever, just kind of like lie to themselves a little bit and be like, no, it's, you know, I'm over it, and then they'll see the person, they're like, oof, boom, like ping, so
right in the heart.
So I think that's an interesting one. But yeah, no, I think, you know, plenty of people are friends enough with their exes or whatever, and it works for them. But I think as a general rule, it's a lot tougher than people think.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough enough to be ex-friends with Taylor Swift guy. I think we've now just agreed that we're unlabeled friends, parentheses, italicized. I don't know what it is. But we hook up sometimes. Nice. We'll admit that. Put it out there. Slide into my DMs if you're going to hate on me. I'm here. I'm ready for it. My therapist knows. We're good. I've got plenty of support.
Larry is okay with it.
I mean, he's like, you look fine. I'm like, yeah, I feel fine. It was great.
Larry's like, okay, here we are, buckling up.
Honestly, he might have just given up on me.
No. I mean, therapists are funny, right? Because, like, they're really not there to give their opinion. It's like to hear you out and help you work through your shit. So it's always an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, we bullshit about a lot of shit. It's fun.
Kind of the point. It's always funny too, because, like, I don't know, I'm still learning how to do therapy, right? So I come in and I'm like, I want to chat with Gary, like find out how his day's going, find out what's going on in his life. And he's like
he's your homie,
like he's my friend. Yeah, we're just on a Zoom call, you know what I mean? And like, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to just talk about my stuff now. All right. Mm-hmm. I'm not deflecting or anything.
No, not at all. He's like, oh, this one's a difficult case.
It's like, one of these. I think that does tie in a little bit to, you know, putting yourself back out there, right? So we've gone through the breakup, we went through the hard days, we've unfollowed our ex, and we're maybe feeling ready to start dating again.
I feel like this can go one of two ways. If you put yourself out there and you're like in that position where you're kind of lying to yourself about being over it, you're going to go on that date, you're going to get home, and you're going to feel like shit. Because I've been there. But if you are truly over it, then I personally think that, like, the best way to get over somebody is to get under somebody else. I'm a firm proponent of that, even though I feel like it's also the worst advice ever.
Yeah, I think it depends, because there's also the element of, like, people always hear about the what's it called? The bounce back, the
backslide.
Well, backsliding too. Also, shout out Mouse Pal.
Yeah.
No, the where you're the first person someone dates after a breakup.
Rebound.
There we go. You know,
like basketball.
News a sports term. But you do put yourself at risk, I think, if you jump into a relationship too quickly, of having this, like, intense feelings, right? Because you're still dealing with your shit, and so I think you have these, like, intense feelings, or you just hurt that person because you're not actually ready to feel anything with someone new. And so I think that's, like, a tough position to be in.
It's kind of like deflecting. Like, you take those feelings that you felt for your ex and you put them onto this new person, and it's almost like you're just kind of making this, like, replacement.
Yeah. Well, and I typically, if I'm on a date or talking to a guy and they're like really fresh out of a breakup.
Red flag.
Yeah, definitely a red flag. Like, it's kind of funny. I was getting a drink with someone the other day. I don't know if it was a date or not. And I don't know if he listens to the podcast, so I'll chat with him. But yeah, he'd mentioned getting divorced, and I'd asked how recent it was, and it was like with, several months ago, but they'd been together for a really long time.
Well, and a divorce is different than a breakup, in my opinion.
It is. Yeah, and also future episode, right?
You got fucking married, bruh. Like, we're legally bound to said person.
Yeah.
That's a big fucking deal. Well, I don't want to make it bigger than it is, but, like, that's different than just, like, oh, yeah, my ex and I have, like, a year broke up.
Oh, of course.
Totally different.
But I had made a comment about it being fresh, and he's like, well, that's everybody's response. He's like, but, like, actually, and we, like, kind of talked through it and all that. So I was like, okay, I see where you're coming from. Like, it's not always, just because, you physically separate or sign paperwork or whatever it is on a certain date, it doesn't mean that relationship didn't end emotionally many moons prior,
Well, because divorce is often, especially if there's kids or assets, they take time. Like, my mom and dad, it took them 2 years to get divorced, and my mom literally got remarried like 2 months later.
Yeah.
Like, she was out of it before she'd even really filed for divorce.
Yeah.
So I see where you're coming from there.
Yeah, so it can be interesting, but I think I don't know, it's I go back and forth with it, because it's like, it's fun to get out and talk to people, but this comes back to like being aware. And this is also where, if you are working with a therapist, or even if you have friends that'll just be direct with you as well, like friends that'll truly like call you out, and not in a bad way, but in a way of like helping you to realize, if they are like, hey, oh, you're like going out already, like tell me how you're feeling about that, and can help you maybe realize if you like are or aren't ready. And then I think too, like, being open and transparent with the people you are going out with about how recent it was, or, obviously please don't start a date by being like, oh my God. I went through a breakup 3 months ago and she broke my heart. It's like, okay, well, okay.
Like, go listen to All Too Well and cry yourself to sleep. Don't go on Hinge. Just don't.
So yeah, it's interesting. And I think too, there's also the element of being open for like casual having fun, right, versus trying to get back into like a relationship. I think that's a pretty big difference. Like, at least for me, it took me a long time to get to a point where I am open to actually, being in a relationship with someone. But that being said, I also like am very comfortable like compartmentalizing like casual versus not, and not like I don't know, like, so it's different, I think, for me, but I think it depends on how you are with that. And if you're not someone who can go on like casual dates or friend dates or whatever and not start to feel emotions quickly, or that, like, be aware of that and like just guard your feelings from that aspect.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you, because there is like going on Hinge and like chatting it up with people is different. Or like going out and taking somebody home or going home with them is different. And I'm kind of glad, honestly, that like I decided that I was going to make this move pretty much right alongside the breakup, which also makes it sound like a very brash decision, but it was something I've wanted to do for a while. Not to justify that, but I'm glad that I did have that, because it's also put me just in this mindset of like, there's no point to me like to date in Austin right now, because what am I investing in? Like, I went on one date just to kind of like get the Band-Aid off, and I was like, well, that was fine. But I just don't see the point. I don't even see the point in like finding a fuck buddy, because I don't want to train another guy. Like,
damn.
No, whatever. I'm just gonna kind of chill for a while. It's just a few months. But I feel like that's honestly like kind of the way that I'm thinking about dating and like looking forward to when I move is just having a clear head about it, because I feel like the time away from if I weren't leaving, I probably would have gotten back on the apps when I felt quote unquote ready, right? But the fact that I really haven't is, other than for content, sorry guys, it's just it's put me just in a really good headspace. And I've always kind of like you had that ability, mostly at least now, to compartmentalize fuckboy and potential relationship. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's even more clear to me now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. I got this new phone. I don't think I'm gonna download Hinge right now.
Whoa.
I'm just like, it's just, I don't know. I've got a lot going on in my like full-time adult life right now.
And the holidays are coming up.
And I mean, not that like the other thing too is Austin is pretty open. You know, people listen from different parts of the country, but like it is, you can meet people out in the wild now here in Austin. And so I'm absolutely like meeting people and open to that. Like I had a really fun convo with a guy at this event I was at last night. I mentioned like I went out for a beer the other day. That one's actually kind of funny because that was an Instagram DM slide.
Oh.
So TBD on that one. But yeah, I don't know. The app just like, I'm just kind of over it. And when you're over it, then you're not investing in starting conversations. You're just like match, swipe. And like, that's not the way to approach it. Mm-hmm. I also feel like, I mean, it was summer. Now that we're going into fall, it could be different. But I feel like guys got like a lot less responsive on the app and shit like that. And I'm like, I don't want to message 20 guys and have none respond, and then message 20 more guys and have one respond, and then I don't respond for 4 days because I'm not checking it and my notifications are like, meh. So TBD, by our next
sales cycle.
By our next
for a living.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. By our next episode, I might be back on. We'll see. But for now, I'm not currently on there.
I was actually going to say, because I've been thinking about doing an episode on like meeting people in the wild, which is ironic given the name of this podcast. Because I've had that in my head too, with everything here being open. And it was ironically also a conversation that I had with my ex. Like, we were kind of bullshitting a while back and, you know, like, oh, hey, like, are you seeing anybody? Or like, are you back on the apps or whatever? Really casual. And he was like, honestly, like, I don't, like, I'm kind of resigned to meeting somebody in the wild now. And also in the wild was his words too. But he goes camping again, but so it probably wasn't a match. But I kind of like, he said that and it kind of like sparked a thing in my brain, and I was like, maybe he's right. Maybe he's right, and maybe like getting off the apps is the way maybe we're moving. I think about something Jared Freid said too, of like, there's these apps were like created by, it's really mean kind of to put it like this, but they were created by nerds who like
100%, yeah,
needed help meeting people.
Yeah.
They weren't created by people like you who can walk up to a stranger anywhere and be like, hey, what's up, let's be friends. So it is kind of interesting the way that they've taken on this life of its own.
Yeah, I think they definitely have their place. I think just for me right now, I'm like, yeah.
Honestly, I love that for you. I feel like it makes a lot of sense. And I think you'll probably find more meaningful connections.
Probably. We'll see.
TBD, stay tuned.
TBD, yeah.
Yeah, maybe we do an episode on that later. I don't know what it would entail, but
we'll figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, I think moral of the story, I think putting yourself out there, however you want to do that, is super important, because otherwise you do kind of stay stuck a little bit.
I think what you mentioned about going on a date to rip the Band-Aid off, I think that is actually very important too.
I think it says a lot about where you're at too in terms of being over it.
It's a good way to gauge your understanding. And someone can't be mad if you go on a date and then realize after, like, you're not ready, because, like, someone can get mad about that. If you drag them through a fake relationship or something, that's a little bit different. But I think it is important to kind of pull that Band-Aid off, and then I don't know, or go on group dates, hang out with your friends.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone on a date before, like, too soon, and gotten home and just, like, started bawling because I wasn't for it. Going out with this guy, I just kind of got home and, like, I looked at myself in the mirror with a funny face because it was just very strange. And he suggested splitting the tab. So, and as independent as I am, like, I want you to at least pretend, at least the first date.
Yeah, same.
Like, just pretend. If you want to let me pay. But, like, oh God, it was just weird. So I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work, but I feel fine.
It's like the date I went on where I had 2 happy hour beers, and he had, like, a beer and a full meal, I think, but he was just like, he made sure to, like, yell at the bartender and be like, can we get our checks, please? Like, really enunciated that they were separate. And I just smirked. I was like, okay, cool.
No second date.
Cool.
No second date for that. Guys, at least pretend if you're listening.
It's like a $6 beer. Come on, man.
Right. Like, I think my tab was like $6. He had 2 beers. I had 1. So, yeah, whatever. I don't know. Any final words? Anything on just never getting back with your ex ever?
I think we covered a lot of it. I'll just say, like, if you've recently gone through a breakup and you need a wing woman, hit me up, slide into my DMs. As long as you're not, like, completely psycho. A little psycho's okay, a little crazy. But if you're not, whether male, female, non-binary, whatever. If you need a wing woman, want to go grab a beer somewhere, seriously, hit me up. I love connecting people and getting people out there and chatting people up. So I'll be your wing woman for the price of 1 electric jellyfish.
Oh, such a good beer. Yeah, I mean, I think the moral of the story too is just be honest with yourself at the end of the day. Even if you don't want to be. And if you really don't want to be, find a therapist.
Boom.
They are great, even if it's literally just temporarily to get yourself over this person.
Yep.
Maybe this is an episode sponsored by Larry.
BetterHelp, Doctor on Demand, which is how I see Gary.
I love it. EAP, find your EAP. You get usually a few free sessions. That's my advice. Cool. Well, Michelle, where can people find you?
They can find me at mcraigpdx on Instagram. And where can they find you?
At Marie R. Carlson everywhere. And we are at Swipe and the City everywhere with that as well. Do we have anything coming up?
We are working on a live show, but we do not have any details for that. So
stay tuned.
All right. Signing out.